Thank you for joining us today, and we are super excited to introduce to you our featured author, Dr. Janet Bieschke. She is part of the book Voices of the 21st Century, Women Who Influence, Inspire, and Make a Difference. This book serves as an opportunity for women from around the world to come together and share their voice and their truth. This book will challenge your thinking, give you some new ideas, and allow you to explore the stories of other women who are sharing their stories. It's done simply by one woman stepping into her own truth to be vulnerable and to be transparent. And we know this takes great courage, which is why, as more of us rise up to share our voices, to educate, to guide, and inspire, we must support one another by both sharing and listening. So let's dive in and explore one of these really great stories that were shared by Dr. Jan. And we would love to get to know you a little bit more. And in the book, you share a very powerful story. And we would love to know what motivated you to share that.
Well, thank you, Gail, and welcome everyone. Actually, after working in the corporate world for about 34 years and being responsible for many other people, I retired and ventured into giving back. And part of the giving back was to be trained as a hospice volunteer. And that really was it started me on a whole different trajectory of how I spent my time and where my thoughts took me. And I ended up interviewing hospice patients. So in addition to their personal care, one thing led to another, and I was able to begin interviewing them and capturing their life stories. And that became super powerful. So that was really what took me into different ways of looking at life, different ways of showing up, not always looking at what needed to be accomplished, but it turned into the softer side and the more emotional side, where you brought those feelings and the meanings and the purpose and all of those, a whole life brought together. And what does it mean? And what's the purpose of that? And what's the value in sharing those stories? So that's what brought me here.
I'm envious of you, the fact that you have spent so much time in the privilege of being with people at end of life. You know, it is right up there with birth. It's a new type of birth where as they transition, and for those who haven't experienced, it's beautiful.
I think what I really learned, Gail, was the fact that there's this radiant part of us that's always in us, this light, some people call it, or our divine source, but there's a certain amount of radiance that is always there. And for some people, it brings them joy. For some, they express their love through it. For many, it's what gets them through. It's that resilience piece that brings them through whatever it is that they're dealing with at the time. And there's this radiance that is in each of us from the time we're born. And I think learning to tap into that is a great gift if we can do that at a much earlier stage in life. So that's a lot of what I do with my life coaching.
Big point there. The fact that, tapping into that earlier, I love that. So tell us, what would you expect a reader to get from the story that you share in this book?
Well, I think part of it is the lessons that we learn from the dying, and it's the end of life coaching. But we learn to tap into that radiance. We learn to share our stories, because in sharing our stories, especially in asking for the stories of somebody who's about to die, we find them at a different point where they are ready to uncover the unknown. And many times it's for us to learn about somebody that they've held all that inside because we've never asked them. It's a time to express emotions. And a reader will learn that there is so much in asking for those emotions. How did that feel? Were you scared? It gives them a chance to leave a legacy and to understand the richness of those legacies and how we build our resiliency by knowing our family's history. It's an opportunity to release regrets, to ask for forgiveness, to forgive those that we need to forgive, and basically to share our stories. And in doing all of that, I put a couple tools in there that have to do with choice. But all of these have to do with choice, because when we choose to ask for those stories, we just sometimes get blown away by what we hear.
Oh, I love that guidance, that simple guidance that you just give us right now, because quite often, you know, as we're involved with a loved one who may be passing, we're paralyzed ourselves in our thoughts and our voice, and not knowing what to, I mean, no one really trains you for this.
So true, so true. And I think what happens, the emotions come into play differently. If it's our parents or our loved one, they bring a whole set of emotions to that. And it might be based on what they've experienced, what they're feeling. Some people are very comfortable when they get to that point. Others are scared to death. And their feelings impact us, but vice versa. You know, we also have the ability to come in with helping ease those emotions. And when we do that, when we know how to do that, when we know how to look for the value there, sometimes we can really offer, we offer healing, we offer closure, what I call peace in passing. I mean, we're always looking for peace of mind and peace of heart. And in this process, we learn peace in passing. We can literally create that scenario, which not only brings peace to the person who's dying, but to those people around them, the ones that they're leaving behind. And that becomes critical to so many people, because when we don't have resolved issues at the end of life, we tend to carry them on into our own lives. And it becomes real important sometimes to say the things we need to say, even if it's a hard conversation, even if it's something to the effect of, you know, when you did this, that hurt me, and I need to say it. And even though death is coming, not saying it does more harm. And sometimes the person who's the adult, well, I'm going to say the adult being the parent, because it's many times what we're dealing with, many times they would absolutely want to have that resolved. They just don't know how to bring it up. So I do a lot of teaching how to have those conversations.
Well, as I understand, I mean, just listening to you, I mean, you are the voice of experience. Just in our short time right now, you're giving so much great information. I mean, with your experience and knowledge, intimate knowledge, how has that played in your life? Like, what is the impact in your life?
It's taught me to shut up somewhat, to slow down, and to understand that so many things that we get wrapped up in really are not that important. Sometimes we ruin friendships or relationships within our family for all of the wrong reasons. We let little things hurt us. And I think I've learned that enjoy it, you know, really look for that time to find the joy, to bring the joy, to express the love, to really look for living in the moment. Because there's so much to be said for, you know, when you're holding that baby, you hold her so close, so much that you can feel that heartbeat. All these years later, you can just, you know, when I'm interviewing somebody and they talk about their first daughter or son being born, and they, you know, it's like they literally take their hands, and I know they're reliving that. It's like they feel when that little girl wrapped them around their finger, and she's been there ever since. You know, it's like, so it's really about living every bit of it while you can, all the way as long as you can.
I'm sure we have many listeners going, I need to talk to you.
And I make that easy.
Please do share, because what you are really touching on is something that, whether we've experienced it yet or not, it is something, it's in our life path. And having gone through it personally myself, when you go through it without any coaching,
Yes.
you go through it alone, and
Scary.
it's scary. There's a whole gamut of emotions that you're not used to not dealing with, and how do you deal with it, and how do you talk to the person? Having someone like you to guide us through would be remarkable, just to really embrace the gifts of that time,
Yeah.
and to really receive and be open and be present, and just to enjoy and rejoice, and have both people, as you say, leave with peace, because that's what it's about. So please share with us how we can get in touch with you.
Well, before I do that, I just want to say, Gail, that unfortunately, sometimes we die so many times throughout our life. We die when we're not seen. A piece of us dies when we're not feeling heard. When our voice doesn't matter. And in all of those, the same tools apply. So yes, there are many ways to die, and most people die many times before they actually really get to that ending point in life. And as the one little old lady in hospice said, when somebody asked her, what does it feel like to know that you're dying? And I love her spunk when she said, well, tell me, what does it feel like to be pretending that you're not? Right?
Wow.
Yeah, so there we are. So with that, yes, I will share. I can be reached at my email of Janet at Dr. Janet B. I won't make you spell out Bieschke.com. So drjanetb.com. And that's also my web address is www.drjanetb.com, or the email is janet@drjanetb.com. So
janetb.com.
And I do know that the work that I do is appreciated by so many. I've had nurses tell me that they literally saw the difference in their dad after I spent time with him, that, he wasn't as restless as the patients normally are. He didn't need the additional medication that, most of her patients do. That tells me that healing and closure really is real. It makes a difference. And that's saying what you need to say, doing what we need to do.
You should have some wings on you right now.
No, I am blessed. When I first started and I was doing this as a volunteer job, I said so many times, this is the best job I've never gotten paid for in my whole life. It literally is. And it is. It's changed who I am. It's taught me appreciation. It's taught me gratitude. I thought I had that before, but I know it differently now. And it's because of the patients. It's because of, and they're not all patients. Some of them are, they're not all hospice patients. Some of them are in nursing homes. Some of them are friends of my, friends that have parents that want me to interview them. Some are my own friends. Some are my own family. So yeah, it's, one day I'm going to do it for myself. But we can't do that. If you sat down and you tried to interview yourself, you can't do it. It's like this, it's something about those connections, that holding that space between two people that brings in a different presence, and that is powerful.
You have a strong presence of peace. I feel joy, and I feel you as fulfilled. And I thank you for overflowing all of that and pouring it into us, because we need that. And the fact that you help, and when you talk about we die many times, you're right. When we think of it that way, there's so many different parts of us, or that we don't even acknowledge, that we let go or don't say goodbye to. So,
and yet I think we know. I think at some level, there's something we know that we're not aware that we know. And I say that because so many times when somebody's approaching death, they'll talk to a mother or someone that has been gone out of this physical world for years. And all of a sudden that morning, it's like, guess who came to see me? And it's real for them. And my little 3-year-old granddaughter was walking one morning with her other grandmother, and when she, out of the blue, said, Grandma Rose, when I die, your mom and 2 angels are going to come get me. Where does that come from? Yeah, yeah. And yet it's like, it tells me there's a knowing. There's that radiance. It's there, that light. There's so much that I know we're okay. I know we're exactly where we're intended to be, because there's more than us, you know? I mean, we're great, but there's so much more than us. And I do believe that. I see it.
Well, as you spoke your granddaughter's words, a shiver came over my body, and I just went, and I'm sure everybody listening probably experienced
But
something.
isn't that beautiful?
Yes, yes, it
because
is.
where else could that come from except a knowing at 3? You know, you're barely making all your sentences work.
Wow. You know, I want to thank you for coming on the show today and giving us some great insight, some great things to think about. And I know that you have some words of wisdom that we would all love to hear, to hang on to. So please share.
You know, look around you, find the joy, know that every day is full of discoveries and surprises, and these words that you say to somebody can literally make the difference in their world, of them feeling better, thinking better about themselves, knowing that they matter. You know, when we find that in ourselves, it's much easier to look around, and we see it in everyone. I mean, I look at the work that you're doing, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're connecting so many people. And, you know, no matter where you look, you see the beauty, you see the goodness of people. And I think we find what we look for. And especially in today's world, when it can get really crazy very quickly, that's a choice. And I think we really need to choose what we want to bring into our lives.
Well said. You have the biggest, most beautiful heart. And it is truly an honor to get to know you. And I want to thank you for all the lives that you've touched, that have crossed your path. And thank you so much for sharing, giving us insight in this book.
My pleasure.
Truly, you're an angel. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. And we invite you to join us again next week to learn from another amazing woman sharing her story. And remember, your message matters too. So to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you all. Bye.